I'll give you a little bit of background about me and Pinterest. I started using it about a year ago. A lot of my friends were talking about it on Facebook, and I didn't have a job at that point. I had just moved to Australia, so I had a lot of time on my hands. And I thought, I'll look into this and see what it is. And so now I use Pinterest as a way to kind of collect things that I'm interested in. I'm a big book nerd, so a lot of my boards have to do with books. I'm also a rock climber, so I have a board with photos of rock climbers. I also have a board full of places that I'd like to travel to, quotes that I like, all sorts of various things. So that's how I'm currently using it. In my 20 minutes tonight, I'm going to talk briefly about how to use Pinterest. I won't get into the nitty-gritties, but instead I'm just going to give you a broad overview of it. And then I also want to talk about how photo sharing is really important in our online society today. What exactly is Pinterest? The definition that I like to use is that it's a photo sharing site. You can also share videos, but photos are much more commonly shared on the site. It's a way to share and organize interesting things from around the web, and it's important to note that it's not a gated community. So whereas on Facebook you can choose not to share certain things with colleagues or family members, on Pinterest, whatever you put on there, anyone in the world can see, even if they don't have a Pinterest account. I have a couple of statistics I'd like to share with you to show you the power of Pinterest. It currently has over 17 million users, almost all of whom have joined in the last year. Many of those users are connected through Facebook, so every time they pin a photo, it's also showing up on their Facebook feed. So as an artist, if someone pins your work on Pinterest, there's a good chance that some of their Facebook friends are also seeing it. A fifth of all users visit the site daily, and it's what we call a sticky site. So that means that when people go to Pinterest, they're staying there for a long time. The average Pinterest user stays on the site for about an hour. And to give you a comparison, the average Twitter user stays on Twitter for 30 minutes. And if any of you use Google+, we were talking earlier about how not many people do, the average Google+ user only stays on that site for 6 minutes. Pinterest is currently generating more referral traffic than YouTube, Google+, and LinkedIn combined, and it's also driving more traffic to websites than Twitter. So how do you use Pinterest? Well, first of all, you're going to create a profile. I really love Pinterest because profiles are very simple. They're short and sweet. You have your name, you have a short description about yourself and maybe your interests, and then you can also link to a few of your online profiles. So if you can see the world button in the corner there, that links to a website. You can also link to Twitter, you can link to Facebook, and you can also say where you're located in the world. And I highly recommend that you put your location because you can actually search for people based on where they're located. So once you have a profile, the next thing you're going to do is create a board. And a board is a very important term for Pinterest. Basically, think of a board. A board is a Pinterest as a file folder is to a filing cabinet. So each of your boards is going to hold interesting things revolving around a certain subject. So once you've created your board, then you're going to start pinning photos to it. And your board might be a travel board, it might be design inspiration, it might be recipes, whatever it is that you're interested in. So once you create that board and you start pinning photos, you want to make sure that you pin high quality photos. The photos that get shared the most are the ones that they're high quality, they're really beautiful, they're not grainy or blurry or anything like that. And you should also add a good description because you can also search for descriptive terms in the Pinterest search. Where do all the photos come from? There's 3 different ways. The first is to add a pin from a website. So say you're looking around on the internet and you see a beautiful photo you'd like to pin on Pinterest. You just copy that website address into Pinterest, and Pinterest will search the website, pull up any photos on that page, and then you have the option to pin it onto a board. And we can get into the details of that later. It can be a bit confusing if you're new to Pinterest. So that's one way. The second way is to upload a photo of your own. So if you have something on your computer and you'd like to upload it to Pinterest, you can do it that way. And then the third way that photos are shared on Pinterest is by repinning. So I have a photo here of some delicious looking cookies, and in the top left-hand corner you can see it says repin. almost all photos on Pinterest are repinned, all the ones that you see. That's the most common way to share photos. So once you've set up a profile and you're getting started, there are two main ways that you can use Pinterest. The first is to use it as a portfolio. I'm going to give the example here of a wedding photographer. Her business is called Style Me Pretty. And she has over 55 boards, almost all of which contain her own photographs. One of her boards is called First Look, and she has pictures of the first time that couples see each other on their wedding day. Another board is called Furry Friends, and it's pictures of how pets can be involved in the wedding ceremony. And then another example, one of my favorites, is bow ties, and she has pictures of guests of all ages who are wearing bow ties. So very easily, by going to her Pinterest account, you can get a good idea of the type of photographs that she takes and how she becomes involved in the wedding day. The other way you can use Pinterest is to share your interests, and that's how I use it. I mentioned earlier I'm really into books. One of my current favorites is The Hunger Games. Some of you may know it. It came out as a movie recently. So a couple months before the movie came out, I noticed there were all sorts of fan created posters and jewelry and all sorts of things online. So I created a board for The Hunger Games and I started pinning those photos. In the weeks leading up to the movie, almost everything I pinned onto Pinterest got over 100 repins. And it was very fascinating to see. The movie came out, and then within a couple weeks after the movie was out, anything new I pinned, it got maybe 7 or 8 repins. So one, I was having fun because I was sharing my interests. But two, gotcha, I lost track there. It was also really interesting to see the trend as it happened and as it fell down. So next, I want to talk about why photo sharing is so important in today's society. Real quick, let's look at who's on Pinterest. We've got women, bloggers, 25 to 44-year-olds, mothers, and businesses. Those make up the largest segments. And as you can see right there, that's a lot of buying power. Almost all of those groups have a lot of disposable income. And so they're using Pinterest as a way to share what they're interested in, but also as a way to see what they want to buy. Does anyone know what is shared most on Facebook these days? Out of links, status updates, photographs? Any idea? Any guesses? Photos, yes. Photos are the most shared thing on Facebook. And I feel that Pinterest has really kind of jumped on that bandwagon. Here's an example of Jet Setter. They're a website. They do luxury travel deals, and they have a very big following online. They got a lot of requests from their fans for how they could participate in the website. And so they decided to start a contest on Pinterest, a Pin It to Win It contest. So they asked their fans to create a board called Jet Setter and to pin photos from Jet Setter and from around the web for the fans' ideal travel vacation or travel experience. They had a ton of participants, and in the weeks after the contest ended, they increased their website page views by 150%. So there were a ton of people visiting their site. And for the month that the contest was happening, Pinterest was flooded with photographs from Jet Setter. Another example that hits a bit closer to home, this is a small business success story. Beth Quinn Designs is a handmade jewelry designer, and she uses social media to showcase her artwork and to kind of build a community to talk about her artwork. She joined Pinterest last fall and decided to post this photo right here, a handmade necklace that she had done. Within 2 months of posting the photo, she received 300 orders for it. So why is that? One, it's a great photo. It's also a very unique piece. And also, through a little bit of serendipity, Beth reached her audience. All of those people that might be buying her jewelry are the type of people that use Pinterest. I have a fun fact here at the bottom. Pinterest users are 10% more likely to buy versus people coming from other sites. So let me break that down for you. If you're putting one of your products on Pinterest and on Facebook, the people that see it on Pinterest are 10% more likely to buy it from you than the people that see it on Facebook. So that's, a pretty big, impressive number. Before I turn it over I just want to talk a little bit about a word of caution. Zoe's going to talk to us about some legal concerns, but two other ones that I wanted to bring up are to expect changes. Pinterest is still relatively new. If you're one of those people that gets upset every time Facebook changes their layout, this might not be the site for you. In the year that I've been using it, they've made two kind of pretty drastic overhauls of their design. So I would expect more changes to come. The other thing is because Pinterest is relatively new, who knows, it might be bought out by someone else in the next month. We don't really know. So when you're thinking about using Pinterest, instead of creating a Pinterest strategy, you should think in broader terms of how to create a photo sharing strategy. As photos become more and more important to our online lives and the way that we share things, think about how you can share photos in other ways besides using Pinterest.